Hey everyone, welcome back. You guys sent in some seriously interesting articles about Antarctica's Thwaites Glacier, so we're diving deep into that today.
Yeah, it's
You're probably seeing this glacier nicknamed the Doomsday Glacier everywhere.
right.
And let me tell you, that's not just clickbait.
Yeah.
This glacier's fate could directly impact coastlines around the world, including yours.
Yeah, and it's a perfect example of how interconnected our planet is. Events in this seemingly remote part of Antarctica can have ripple effects that reach every corner of the globe.
So let's unpack why this giant block of ice is making headlines, and more importantly, what the latest research you sent in actually tells us. So first things first, can you give us a quick picture of what we're dealing with here? Just how big is this glacier, anyway?
So imagine a glacier the size of Florida that's Thwaites. It's massive, and it's not just the sheer size that's concerning, it's the speed at which it's melting, largely due to what's happening beneath the ice.
And the articles mentioned warmer ocean water being a major culprit. What's the mechanism there? How is that warm water actually reaching the glacier?
Right, it's not just about warmer temperatures in general. See, there's this current called circumpolar deep water, or CDW. It's warmer than the surrounding ocean water, and because of shifts in wind patterns and ocean currents likely influenced by climate change, it's being pushed up onto the continental shelf where it can then flow into the cavity beneath the ice shelf. Imagine it like warm water constantly lapping at the base of the glacier, causing it to melt from below much faster than if it were just exposed to warmer air temperatures.
So it's like this double whammy of warmer air and this warmer water current attacking the glacier.
Precisely. And this is where another critical concept comes into play, the grounding line.
Okay.
Imagine where the glacier sits on the seabed. That's its grounding line. The point where it transitions from being grounded to floating. As this warm water eats away at the ice from below, that grounding line starts to retreat further and further inland. This is a major concern because as the glacier loses its grip on the seabed, it can become unstable and break apart more rapidly.
So it's like the glacier's hanging on for dear life and that grip is weakening.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good.
Unfortunately, you're right. The research you sent, especially the satellite data, shows this is happening much faster than scientists initially anticipated. And this acceleration is what led to that Doomsday Glacier nickname.
Okay, so we're talking about a massive glacier melting faster than expected because of this insidious warm water current eroding it from below.
Right.
I have to admit it's a bit unsettling to think about, but I guess the big question is, what does this mean for us, the planet?
That's the crucial point, isn't it? Thwaites is like a giant wake-up call.
Yeah.
If it were to collapse entirely, we're talking about a potential sea level rise of over 2 feet. But here's the thing. Thwaites acts like a cork in a bottle.
A cork in a bottle? What do you mean?
It's holding back a much larger mass of ice, the West Antarctic ice sheet. If Thwaites goes, there's a risk that this entire ice sheet could become destabilized, and then we're talking about a potential sea level rise of up to 10 feet.
10 feet. That's not just a few inches here and there. That's entire islands, submerged coastlines, redrawn.
Yeah.
It's hard to wrap my head around.
It's a staggering thought, isn't it? And while the exact timeline is still uncertain, the consequences would be felt globally.
Right.
We're talking about major coastal cities like Miami, New York, even London facing severe flooding. And not just cities, entire island nations, particularly in the Pacific, could vanish beneath the waves. The human cost would be immeasurable.
And it's not just about the human cost, right? The environmental impact would be huge as well. Entire ecosystems disrupted, wildlife habitats destroyed.
Absolutely. The effects on biodiversity, on delicate coastal ecosystems, on our planet's ability to regulate its own temperature, these are all interconnected and deeply concerning.
Okay, so we've covered the doom and gloom scenario, and it's a lot to process, frankly, but the research you shared wasn't all bad news, right? Scientists are making some incredible discoveries about how Thwaites behaves. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the alarming projections, but there's also a sense of hope. The same technology that allows us to monitor the glacier's rapid change also provides us with invaluable insights. That satellite data you mentioned, it's not just showing us that Thwaites is melting, it's helping us understand how it's melting.
So more than just a snapshot, we're getting a whole video of the process.
Exactly. We can see where the melting is happening fastest, pinpoint the areas of greatest instability. This kind of detail is essential for building accurate models and predicting future behavior. It's like trying to understand a complex machine. We need to know how all the parts work together, where the weak points are, before we can make informed decisions about how to manage it.
It makes you realize just how important this kind of research is. It's not just about satisfying scientific curiosity. It's about giving us a fighting chance to adapt and prepare for the future. What are some of the specific things scientists are doing to gather more information about Thwaites?
Well, for one, they're drilling deep into the ice and extracting what are called ice cores.
Okay.
These cores are like time capsules containing bubbles of ancient air and other clues that reveal how the climate has changed over thousands of years. By studying these cores, scientists can see how Thwaites responded to past warming periods, which helps them predict how it might behave in the future.
So we're looking back in time to understand what might lie ahead. That's fascinating. What else are researchers focusing on?
Another major area is studying the ocean currents and water temperatures in the Amundsen Sea, where Thwaites meets the ocean. Remember that circumpolar deep water we discussed?
Yeah.
Understanding its behavior, how it interacts with the glacier, is absolutely crucial. They're using autonomous underwater vehicles, these amazing little submarines, to map the seafloor and measure the water temperature and salinity at different depths. They're even sending sensors down into the cavity beneath the ice shelf itself to get real-time data on what's happening at that critical interface between ice and water.
It's like they're sending these robotic explorers into an alien world.
In a way they are, and the data they're collecting is helping to refine our understanding of how this complex system works and hopefully what we can do to mitigate the worst-case scenarios. It's about making informed decisions both locally and globally to address the challenges posed by a changing climate.
It's like we're piecing together this giant complex puzzle, and every bit of data we get brings us closer to seeing the whole picture. And it's amazing we can send robots to these crazy places to get this information for us.
It really is remarkable, and it just shows how ingenious and dedicated these scientists are. They're working so hard to try and figure out all the mysteries of Thwaites.
Definitely. So we've talked about what could happen if Thwaites collapses, for humans and for the planet.
Yeah.
And we've talked about all the awesome research being done to help us understand this glacier better. But before we wrap up, I think the question on everyone's mind is, what can we actually do with this knowledge?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, first and foremost, I think it really drives home how urgent it is to deal with climate change as a whole. Thwaites is just one glacier, right? But it's like a huge warning sign. It reminds us that everything on our planet is connected and that a warming world has some seriously far-reaching consequences.
So it's not about saving one glacier, it's about tackling this global challenge. But what can we as individuals even do? Sometimes it feels kind of overwhelming.
I get it. It can feel that way.
Yeah.
But even small actions make a difference.
Okay.
Like reducing our own carbon footprint, driving less, choosing energy-efficient appliances, even just being more aware of our consumption habits. Those all add up. And even more than that, using our voices to support policies that encourage sustainability and cut down on greenhouse gases is super important.
So knowledge is power, and taking action is key. Don't just sit on this information.
Yeah.
Go out and talk about it. Make those changes be part of the solution.
Exactly. The future of Thwaites and really the future of our planet depends on the choices we're making right now.
That is a powerful note to end on. The future isn't set in stone. It's what we make it. If this deep dive sparked your curiosity, and I'm betting it did, we'll have links to all that fascinating research in the show notes. Don't be afraid to check it out and learn more. You might be surprised by what you find. Thanks for joining us on this journey to the bottom of the world, and remember, stay curious, deep divers.